like when people, like if the conversation isn't had, saying, you know what, you and I are an item.
But that's my fault
Yeah.
because I didn't know that. I thought if you were gonna fly
True.
to see me,
Very true. I mean, not even.
and I
Not,
wasn't your stereotype woman.
meaning.
I made it very clear. Here's my expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I want. I am not a person who dates around.
True.
I'm
Very true.
content
Very true.
with being alone for a year versus multiple people to get a high
Very true.
from
I remember.
a date. I didn't need that in my life.
So I think that it has to be a conversation, but maybe you know, to be honest, if it goes past,
definitely needs to
well,
be a
it's a conversation, yeah. But to be honest, if it goes past a certain line, it really to be honest, it should be official. For example, if I had a daughter and I was telling my daughter, and she was asking me, "Hey, Dad, how do I know when it's so and so?" And she's saying, "Oh, well, we're intimate. We're engaging." I would say, "Well, shoot, that's your man. Have that conversation because you know."
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, flying out, having dinner is still kind of like cordial, but once we're having certain kind of conversations, we're having, you know, intimate.
I
then
welcomed you into my home, like my world, I guess. And that's not easy for some
True.
people because when you want to keep your body count down, that's hard. And for me to be like, did I really just give it up? And he's, it's a wrap. It was here and gone,
Yeah.
just like that.
But that was that. I mean, it is.
This
It's
is
not like I
my-
had.
this
But let me
is
say this
my
though.
view.
But let me say this. Let me say this.
You ready? You ready to have this conversation about relationships
Always
and what
ready.
it takes to survive one,
Always ready.
especially in this generation of
Always ready.
social media, and there's so many factors that we didn't have back in the day.
Very true.
So you and I are both the same age. We're both 47,
Yep.
and I'm pretty sure back in our marriage days, we didn't have to deal with anything that we might have to face today in
True.
relationships.
Very
So,
true. It's a different world. I would definitely say social media plays you know, back when there was no Facebook, no IG, no YouTube, people function different.
People
Oh,
weren't flaming us.
Yeah, yeah.
We didn't have hard eyes 24/7.
You didn't have
Yeah.
access to
Yeah.
people. That access is something else. So yeah, it's a different world. Yeah, I'm ready to talk about it. Let's dig
do
into it. Because, and I say this because it's easy to even for me to just get on, fire a camera up, and talk about the things that people are facing. But even when you get online and see people having these perfect relationships,
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
pretty much people with that have enough experience know that, hey, you know what? I know it ain't all bells and whistles.
Yeah.
Y'all can smile and post and do it, but I know there's problems. So yeah, man.
And they don't even have to be deep all the
No,
time. But
at all.
at the end of the day, there's a point where you just don't like each other in that
Yeah.
moment, maybe, or
Yeah.
or for people that aren't 100% committed,
Yep.
have to face situations that one might think they're in a full-blown committed relationship, one might be dating, and there's so many factors in
Yeah.
today. Being submissive before marriage, that's a huge, like,
True. So let me ask you this: when did you know I was the one?
it's gonna be cheesy. It's gonna be
I wanna hear it.
cheesy. But honestly, I knew 100% you were the one. The way you approached me, first of all, that was such a turn on to me because I've never had anybody say, "I'm gonna have coffee with you."
I
One
remember.
day, I don't know when it is,
I
whether
remember.
it's coffee, a drink, lunch,
Yeah.
dinner,
Because
whatever.
let me tell you my angle though. This is why I came at you like that. Because, and I'm glad I did. It wasn't like a full court press. This is how I had going on. I was single, technically single, but I was still kind of coming out of a situation where there was still some residue, there was still some conversation, but you know, we're not together. And I saw you on social and I was like, man, like she's hot, like her vibe is cool. I said, I want to hop in the DM, but I don't want to shoot my shot because I don't want to shoot my shot. And then if you ask, hey, what's going on? And I got to say, hey, I'm still kind of entertaining something. So I came at you, just said, hey, you know what? Like, I like your vibe. At some point, I just want to have a sit down and have some coffee, just some
Yeah,
conversation.
that's
just to
what it was.
But you know what? It was sincere.
Yeah.
It was like, you know what? Like, I don't even know if we want to go that route, but I want to know more about her. I have questions. So that was my vibe.
I agree. It was definitely not a you're hot, you're fine, you're beautiful.
None of that.
All of those things that you get on the regular, being a female on social media or a man. But we should say that you and I followed each other for the longest time before we even interacted.
We did. And I don't remember when we started. I just remember seeing you off and on, and I remember just saying like, dang, like she's dope. But I don't remember hitting follow or whatever. I don't know how long that was.
I remember studying you when I heard your first. I say study because I was a single woman.
Okay.
And at that point, I knew I had been praying for a long time that I was ready to be a wife. I wanted to be in a relationship, and not even looking at you as who you were. I was looking at your content, and I was trying to absorb it. Like, wow, really? Men feel this way, or this is what women are doing wrong? There were so many things that intrigued me about your page. It wasn't even anything to do with you. And then when you said that very first text message in the DM about that, I was like, this man just told me he's going to have coffee with me one day.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't sexual, but to me, it was very straightforward. I thought that was hot. Yeah. And then I was like, wow, this is the guy that I had been watching for a while and laying in bed at night listening to
stalking to
I wanted to be better. I wanted to be how did I get a man like you were talking about? The men that were out there you were saying was out there. I needed to know, how do I attract that?
Yeah.
Because I hadn't had that in the past. So I was like, what do I got to do?
How do you answer that question? What did you start moving different? Because this is the thing. Because we started, we talked, we had that conversation, and then we just stopped talking for a long period of time.
Yeah.
I think we would still like each other's pictures, and then we started talking again. I'm not sure how long ago that period was.
It was a little.
It was a gap. But then that's when we exchanged phone numbers.
Well, we exchanged numbers early.
Okay.
And you sent me one text message, and it was a song, and you said, add this to our playlist.
Yeah.
And then again, I was like, it was everything that you came off was very new to me. Normally, it's you're so fine.
Yeah.
Even if somebody said to me they wanted to take me out, it was what do you want to do? It was not a direction of, hey, I'm going to do this with you. And I think that's what I liked about you.
So I had game.
You a game.
Okay, let's call it what it is. Let's call it what it is. Let's be official. Yeah, no, but it's weird because me being a man, me having dated other people in life, a lot of times when a guy will meet a woman, if he's just physically attracted, he'll come off as that guy, where it's like, oh yeah, you fine, you say, and I don't think when a guy comes at a woman like that, it's from a BS status. But there's some things about certain women where I'll say it like this, where when a man meets a certain type woman, sex isn't the initial, because it's natural for us to desire a woman for sex, but when we meet a certain, I'll say caliber of woman, we can kind of put that to the back burner, saying, you know what, I can get that all over the place if I want. Yeah. I want to know who this woman is. Like, what is she?
Maybe I just thought everybody had that mindset because I was so against it. Yeah. I was like, don't tell me I'm pretty. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I look in the mirror every day and not saying, I dote on myself, but I don't need a man to tell me I'm pretty. I definitely want to hear it from you. What? But that's not how I wanted to be.
I believe that should come from a man, but I believe that comes from a man after the fact. Like, of course, maybe a first date, hey, that you look cool, but they're always obsessed with a woman's beauty or whatever. Or I think that's lame. But after the fact, once two are together, I think I think it's smart for a man to affirm his wife, like, babe, you look good. Or, I think that's important.
Yeah. I knew, back to when you said, how did I know? Yeah. I knew because after you DM'd me and then we exchanged numbers, you sent me a song. I'd never heard of this song.
What song
it wasn't anything like that. You put me onto a song. I go to YouTube and I said, I'm going to look. I added it to my favorite and I was like, wow, this is really beautiful. Then I looked forward. I was for sure thought I was going to get a good night text. What are you doing? I got nothing. The next day, I thought about you. I woke up. I'm like, wow. I was like, why would somebody text me? Why would somebody ask for my number? Why would somebody send me a song
True.
and say, this is going to be our playlist?
True.
And I think, honestly, 6 weeks might have went by.
It was a minute. And then it was
And I
just,
looked on social media, and then I was like, oh, I don't even want to like anything anymore because that's weird that, you know. And then you randomly said something to me, and we really haven't stopped talking since that day.
Yeah.
I think a 6 week, something like that went by,
Yeah.
and
Now we've had some hiatuses where we stopped talking for a minute, and so we've had those issues. And I'll be honest, I'll be straight honest, and I'm not sure if I've even told you this before. A lot of my resistance, I won't call it resistance. A lot of my confusion, because there was a point in time, like we first met, we were talking, and you had a certain vibe. I was feeling it, but I'll be honest, I kind of, I don't want to use the word ran away from it, but I kind of observed it closely because it was so foreign to me. Like things now that I talk to guys about, saying, hey, you know what, guys, it's a must that she move like this. It wasn't my truth 2 years ago. And when you were showing me certain things, I was like, man, that's cap. Like, that ain't real. Like a woman isn't supposed to do those things. So I said, you know what, I don't believe in that. So I was looking somewhere else. And then when I was, talking to other women, getting certain type, energies, I said, oh man, that was the truth that I had back then. So I had to really recalibrate my mind and further heal myself to even, accept that. So I know for a fact that a lot of people, both men and women, are desiring a certain thing and are meeting that person. And since they aren't ready for it,
and not walking the walk.
because a lot of women will meet a man. They'll say, I want a certain thing. They'll meet a man and he's moving a certain way, and they're like, know what? He's lame.
Yeah.
Or he's this. He's a simp. Or women will say, oh, she's a pick me because da 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 da. And it's like, man, that's just something like people just aren't used to receiving a certain thing. But I'll be honest, like a lot of stuff that I encountered, that I was exposed to with you, I was like, yeah, I can never go back to not having that.
I knew when I was wondering, and I hadn't even had a date yet that I kept wondering. I was waking up, I was looking, and throughout that 6 weeks, I was just like, I have studied him enough to know he's just not that into me. That's exactly what I said.
That wasn't it.
I was like, oh, because he's made it very clear. Clarity, he said in his videos, like I was a fan of you. So I was like, okay, well.
But I can tell you what it was. A lot of it was a respect issue. But I'll say this: when a woman is moving in a certain way, like she carries herself a certain way, she presents herself a certain way, she's not online twerking, she's not showing. Then my thing was, I said, you know what? I want to holler at her. I said, but when I holler at her, I want everything to be clear.
And you did say that.
Yeah, I don't want 6
weeks later.
Yeah,
but I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I didn't want anybody hopping into DMs saying, oh, were you talking to my man? He was just. I didn't want that because I said if I'm gonna shoot that shot, that I don't want no turbulence.
Which then established even more respect from you, because I was like, I like the way he was very assertive about hollering at me, but in such a respectful way. And then I like that you said flat out, you were like, why didn't you ever reach out to me? And I said, isn't that the man's job? Like, I thought if you liked me, remember me saying that?
Yeah.
If you liked me, why wouldn't you? And you was like, well, and then we had that conversation. You came right out and said I was tying some stuff up. I didn't want, and I was just like.
So over the course of time since we've met and been talking and stopped talking, what are some things that I've done that have just either pissed you off, rubbed you the wrong way, or that you don't understand? What kind of things? Because and the reason I say this is because people can be online and act like it's all to the good, but it's not. A lot of people don't see what's going on in the background. And I know I've hurt you before. I know I've done some things not really intentional, But looking back, I'm like, damn, like I really hurt her and I didn't really mean to. And I want to talk about those things because I know people are dealing with it.
I think for you and I,
All right.
we've always had an attraction mentally that I never let go. And if I'm being honest,
All right.
I chased.
Right.
I chased after you. Like, in a sense of, I wasn't busting down your door or anything,
Yeah.
but I covered you in prayer every single day. And I kept telling God, like, I know after I had my first date with you, I knew that I was willing to do all the highs and lows with you. I thought you were worthy of that, but you hurt my feelings on so many levels. And it's not I think a woman needs that. And I think maybe a woman needs to hurt a man's feelings too and say, hey, you're amazing, but here's what you continuously to do. You're not walking your walk, even though you say
True.
this is what you're about.
True.
But if we're not willing to have those conversations, people just end without a fight. And
Very true.
I wasn't willing to give up, even though I knew you were dating at times. I knew you were talking to other women. I knew I wasn't the only one multiple times, but I never let go of that spiritual side of me, saying, you know what, I am worthy to be his one, because I had so much respect for you. I literally had to go to war with God for you. And I was like, I know I'm worthy and he's worthy enough for me.
I'll be honest. There were some things like after you and I started talking, just over the course of time, where I understood that there were boxes that, well, I'll say it like this: there are boxes that men need checked that they don't know they need checked. Like again, people can get online and say, hell, I can get online and say, you know what? Yeah, women need to do this. Women should do this, and women can get online and say that. But I personally don't think people really know fully what they need. Like I think that you know more what I need than I need.
It's in the Bible though. God he sends us what we need, not what we want.
True.
And even though this is going to sound really hard, and some women, maybe somebody's been in this situation like me, but I knew you needed me. I wasn't many times what you wanted in that moment, because I wasn't going to be accepting of you just out doing this or you carrying yourself a certain way. So to me, I think that's why I went to war with God. I needed God to know that everything, you were an amazing human, and I just needed, not that you were out here doing terrible things, but playing the field, as they say. Like, I knew that I was what you needed, and you were what I wanted, though. I had already had a side down to me.
But you were what I wanted. I'll be honest. A lot of what I wanted, or what I want, I didn't know that I wanted it because it was due to a lack of exposure to it. I just so you were never not what I wanted. I'll say this. So one part of it is me really not knowing what I needed. Two is at times I wasn't really moving how I was supposed to be moving. Of course, I was tied to purpose, but not focused to the point where only one woman could fit that bill.
Right.
Like I think when a man really hones in on purpose, there's no room for his head up. And the closer I got, the further I narrowed down to focusing on my purpose, I could see where you fit there. And I was like, man, she fit there the whole time. I just wasn't moving right. So as I narrowed down, that's when I said I understood that there were boxes that needed to be checked that I didn't know existed.
I think for me too, I also knew what I was up against, and I knew that I had to be above all of that. I had to be above all of the thing, in my opinion, the things you see on social media. Like, let's say a woman is ticked off and being petty at you. I had to be above all that. I had to pray and get down on my hands and knees and say, when the times I felt you hurt me, or maybe you didn't even know you hurt me, because I was always under the impression that we was deeper at moments than what we were.
Well, I agree. Let me say this.
And then I was like, what?
True, very true. Because there were times when we would talk for we might talk for months, talking on the phone a lot, you know, flying out, visiting.
Yeah.
And
We need to talk about our first date, our very first date.
Talk about it.
How amazing it was.
Speak on
For
it.
your birthday.
For my birthday.
Amazing.
I remember.
I waited forever for this moment. We literally, if you could wrap everything up in a perfect, ideal date, I think we delivered that.
It was
Tough conversations, had great conversations.
It was a bomb.
Everything was good.
Yeah.
You fly back, and it was just like a whole new man. The minute you got back into Dallas, I was like, now I know he's gonna let me know he made it back, right? No, not a darn thing for. And I was
this is my thing though. This is my thing about, because you're right. Like
there were so many confusing factors.
Well, there, like the conversation was there, the intimacy, everything was in place. So if something changed, like when I changed up, I understand why you were hurt. Like you should have been.
Yeah.
But the thing, this is my viewpoint on like when people, like if the conversation isn't had, saying, you know what, you and I are an item.
But that's my fault because I didn't know that. I thought if you were gonna fly to see me.
Very true. I mean,
I wasn't your stereotype woman.
Meaning?
I made it very clear. Here's my expectations. Here's what I want. I am not a person who dates around. I'm content with being alone for a year versus multiple people to get a high from
I remember.
A date. I didn't need that in my life.
So I think that it has to be a conversation, but maybe, you know, to be honest, if it goes past, it's a conversation, yeah. But to be honest, if it goes past a certain line, it should be official. For example, if I had a daughter and I was telling my daughter and she was asking me, "Hey, Dad, how do I know when it's so and so?" And she's saying, "Oh, well, we're intimate. We're engaging." I would say, "Well, shoot, that's your man. Have that conversation because you know."
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, flying out, having dinner is still kind of like cordial. But once we're having certain kind of conversations, we're having, you know, intimate.
I welcomed you into my home, like my world, I guess. And that's not easy for some people because when you want to keep your body count down, that's hard. And for me to be like, did I really just give it up? And it's a wrap. It was here and gone just like that.
But I mean, it is. It's not like I had. But let me say this though. Let me say this. It's not like I had a motive like, oh, I just want to fly to Phoenix and da da da.
No, that didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah, because my conversation went there.
But I'm saying that's a man can think like that. Relationships can happen just like that.
Yeah.
Here today and gone tomorrow, and you just have no idea. So for me, I was like, I had to go to a foreign country. I was in a show the very next weekend. And we had we had a conversation about you possibly coming out and going. Because you were like, oh, you shouldn't really be going to Mexico by yourself. Nothing. I sat in this foreign country doing this. The world was moving around me, and I was so taken back by like, did that really just happen?
It was a lot going on.
I was ashamed. I was legit ashamed of
it. It was a lot going on though. And being honest, like I can say, I still had, that was early on. I still had moving parts. And I still had relationships that were kind of in and out. You know what I mean? Like.
And I never asked.
Yeah.
To be fair, I never asked. I never even questioned it because I was like, why would he fly out here? You know.
I don't know.
I mean, it's real though.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah.
And I think it takes, if more people were truly honest about things, they would have a partner that would survive things like this. They're very petty to me now. Very petty to me now.
What do you mean?
Like, it's irrelevant. Like, there's not a day that I go by and think, like, this man has burned me before. He's, when we moved forward in that very moment, like, say if it was a week later, I think it was about a week. I come back from Mexico, maybe 2-3 days. You hit me up, and I was just like, I don't even know how to respond to this right now. And then I was like excited. There was not a moment in me that wasn't like, thank you, God. He texted me. It was the craziest thing.
And maybe I thought you were in the same. I don't know. I'm reaching now. But nothing I did.
You
like,
definitely reached.
but I'll say this though. But let me say this is 100. Nothing I've ever done was intentional or like, you know what, I'm gonna try to run game on her, hoping she never finds out about whatever, and then just dip. That's never been a thing. That was just a time again, like when we first started talking, where it was like.
But then again, this is where respect comes in.
Yeah.
I had so much respect for you. I was just trying to understand my role. I take blame for a lot of things in our relationship. You had told me there was one point where you had gotten with another female, and I was taken back by that too. I was like, I'm so confused. Like, I gave you so much validation every single day, and you were like, hey, this is what I needed at that point. And I was like, wow, like I took it as a learning thing for me. Like, here's where I went wrong. I had no idea I wasn't feeling that part of our relationship, even though I thought in my mind I was. I was asking, so by me asking, that meant I was actually doing, but I wasn't.
What part did I say you weren't feeling?
It was on the business side. You said she could provide certain things that I wasn't doing in like your career. And I took it as, okay, well, there is going to be multiple people 10 times better, because behind the camera, I have no idea. I don't even know how to edit. Like, I'm not into that world. I don't know a lot of people. Like, I'm very much, my circle is very small and tight. And I was like, I had to accept that. I had to accept it. Like,
and I remember that conversation.
I wouldn't be able to feel that.
But I'll be honest. I think maybe me having that conversation or even saying something like that to you, like, baby, you know, and that's lame for me to compare you to. But I remember that conversation. But maybe, I mean, of course, I had to be in a stage where I was still trying to figure out, like, like really just trying you. Like, if I say this to you, are you gonna, you know, like, what would your, you know, just me trying to learn, trying to figure it out myself.
And you had already taught me multiple things that I learned how to respond. And I was like, okay. And I actually apologized. You were the one in a whole relationship and I had no idea. And I apologized to you and said, I'm sorry that I wasn't doing that. I didn't even know that I wasn't. You know what I mean? I think that's where me personally feel that's where forgiveness comes into play, really accepting truth. People don't accept truth.
Facts.
People can't handle the truth.
Facts.
That's why people are out here cheating. This is why people are not surviving anything. So I had to truly look at myself in the mirror and say, okay, God, like, you could have just told me that I was lacking in this department, so I could have been better. But at the end of the day, we weren't having real conversations.
Fact, we weren't. Yeah, we weren't.
We didn't have real conversations until recently, in my opinion. I went through 2 years with you, and we had great conversations, but they weren't. Yeah. They weren't
the conversations that were needed,
and they weren't anything really that I was feeling I was getting what I wanted out of it. Even though I was never willing to let go, but they were never what I wanted to get from. At the end result, it was never what I wanted.
So I have a question. Did you forgive me? You got to start somewhere, though. If we're going to talk about us, either we start from the beginning or we start.
No, we're going to start from the beginning. It's going to be raw, uncut. It's our journey and sum it up about relationships.